Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Forget About Cost. So, up until 2 months ago, I had been working as the beer buyer at a bar. I loved the job, through all its faults. But our upper management, it's a small chain, really stopped listening to anything any of the employees had to say after 2020 happened. The main complaint that every location had was this new computer system we switched to. Apparently, some of the investors also had some connections with this new company, so we had to switch to the system, because, gotta make the rich people richer. Anyways, the system was bad. Literally malfunctioned so frequently and so badly that our store alone had lost thousands of dollars because of it. The system made my job as a buyer nearly impossible. I couldn't keep track of my costs because it was constantly inaccurate. I couldn't put in invoices because it had some stupid thing that did them automatically, but they were always incorrect and it didn't allow me to manually fix them. And I couldn't run any reports because the numbers were always way off. I complained to my boss about it very professionally, multiple times, and then a couple of times not as professionally. Finally, I just said, listen, you want me to keep my beer cost under 30%, but I literally can't even see what my cost is. I would just do the math manually, but the reports are always wrong, so it would still be inaccurate. I cannot meet your expectations if I'm working blind, and I really do want to do well in this job. What do you want me to do? And she said, word for word, forget about beer cost. Just make sure the cooler is stocked. I'd spent the past 2.5 years meticulously keeping track of our cost, while that store went from $27,000 a week to $45,000 a week in sales. And suddenly, they just didn't care about that. They were willing to lose an asinine amount of profit because one investor was gonna lose some business relationship or something. So I did exactly what she said. I didn't mind costs. I literally didn't even look at prices when ordering. I just kept the cooler stocked. And I never even got to see the real numbers, because I wasn't able to pull the reports. But I know that the actual cost went way up. I had vendors coming in with samples, saying, I know this probably isn't in your budget for this month, but... And I would say, nope, let's get it. Today, please. I didn't do anything that would literally put the company in jeopardy. But I know well when they do the math at the end of this year, they are going to see exactly when I stopped caring. A few weeks after buying some of the most incredible and expensive beers ever, because I didn't care about cost, I decided it wasn't fair to me or the company to still be working at a job that I started to resent. So I accepted another position, which I have been loving immensely. But when I trained the person to fill my role, I taught them how to calculate costs in case they ever got a new system, but told them not to worry about it now, because it was impossible. I said the exact words that I was told. Just keep the cooler full. I still love the company overall, and I hope they do well. I still love the company overall, and I hope they do well. But I also kinda want the investors to crap their pants a little bit once they run those end of year reports. Not that they will be accurate. The next story is called Take Your Break. I currently work at a Mexican chain in Australia. A few months back, we had this really bad manager who was doing a replacement at our store while her store was undergoing repairs from flooding. She's the type of person who looks down on you because you are a worker and she's a manager. When I first started, I did an opening shift with her. I hadn't done one before, and I kept asking questions which she kept getting annoyed at, and kept acting like I should know what I was doing, and kept leaving me alone. She belittled me for not getting the meats out on time, aka 2 minutes past opening. She yelled at me because I didn't put coriander in our salsa when we were out of coriander. She yelled at me for putting too many beans on one burrito, despite me following the build guide. She had been yelling at me and treating me really badly all day, to the point I'd almost walk out and left her, but I kept my cool. Now, I'd like to add, it's well known in the store that I have hip dysplasia, which in turn really hurts my lower back, so I have to sit down for a few minutes and rest it. Afterward, I'm usually fine. It's on my file, and the store manager has always been fine with it as long as it's not during a rush. That day was an especially bad day, so after around 5 hours on my feet, my back was really starting to ache. So I asked her if I could sit down for a few minutes to rest, as the busy period has passed. Why? Can't you just work? I have hip dysplasia, so I just need to sit for 5 minutes. The store manager has always been fine with it. That doesn't even make any sense. No, you can't sit down. I'm in a lot of pain. All I need is 5 minutes. I'll come back out if it gets busy. No, I don't pay you to sit down. Go take your break instead. 30 minutes. And don't come back until you're done complaining. So I made myself some lunch and sat down in our dining room. About 5 minutes later, the busiest rush of a lifetime came through the door. We were still a reasonably new store, and the hype was high, so I'm talking a line going out the door, and it kept growing. My manager's face turned white as she started serving people who are ordering large amounts of food per person. She gave me these looks of distress, asking for my help with her eyes. Cue my malicious compliance. I sat back on my phone, looking as relaxed as humanly possible, taking very big and dramatic mouthfuls of my food while watching videos very loudly. I had customers ask me if I could hop back behind the counter, but I simply said, "I'm sorry." My manager sent me on my break and said not to come back until I'm done complaining about my back problems. And I'm still very sore. She stares daggers at me, but I just keep eating my lunch. Customers start getting angry at her for not moving fast enough to keep up with the demand. But she knows she can't blame me because of what she said earlier, so she just keeps apologizing. She was running around the back to get salads from the fridge, swapping meats around, getting new sauces. Basically, all the things that a second employee is meant to be there to help with, all while customers kept complaining. I just sat and watched, smirking as she clearly regretted not just letting me sit down for 5 minutes. Otherwise, I would have been there to help. When the rush finally ended about 40 minutes later, I clocked back on and said, "Thanks for the extended break. My back feels so much better now," which incited many glares in my direction. I didn't have to serve even one of the probably 40 to 50 customers that came through the door. She treated me better after that and is now always her kindest self when she's around me. So I called it a win. Luckily, her store was repaired and she went back there. Next week will be my final shift at that store, and I'm very thankful I'll never have to be under her management again. The third story is called AC Compliance. Some years ago, my father was a building inspector in the government. He had a set area of buildings he had to maintain, meaning he would go to the buildings owned by the government and do regular inspections on the cooling/heating, generators, etc. He would also be in charge of maintenance schedules, getting contractors for repairs and new installations, and so on. So, he was at this one particular site in an office building with a large open plan layout, sharing large air conditioning units to cool the area. Obviously, if a large group of people shares an office space, the temps are set to a general temp to accommodate the majority of the people, with the understanding, if it's too cold, bring a sweater. Then he started getting complaints that the ACs are set too cold. He would go, check the temp, check the unit, and all seems to be working correctly, set to 20 degrees Celsius. After numerous complaints, my father ran to the people in the office and asked who had what problem. Suddenly, most of the people complained that the temp was not ideal for them. One wants it colder, others want it hotter. My dad asked them how they expect him to control the temp around their individual desks if they share a large AC unit. They pretty much shrugged and kept complaining. Having had enough of stupid people, my father got a contractor to install individual temp switches on every desk with a cable running into the floor. He explained that all of them could now change the temp to their desired setting. But the power cable for each of those switches just stopped when they entered the floor below. They were not connected to anything. Little dummy switches. He left a note in the building file for the next inspector to explain why the little wires were coming out of the roof below the office. He said he regularly followed up with the people in that office if they are happy. And he said he never got complaints after that. They were very happy with his service and that they could control their own temp. The last story is called Grievance Reports. This happened about 4 years ago. I used to work for Big Brown as a delivery driver. At the time, I was still a cover driver, which is essentially a full-time driver without a permanent route. Every day you'd go in, not knowing what part of the city you'd be delivering to. I had started to get dispatched to a pretty nice area regularly, since the regular driver was out for a few months, and felt like I was hitting my groove. I could tell with pretty decent accuracy how long my day would be just by looking at the stop count. And the route was just outside of the city and what we all considered the countryside, so it was beautiful too. I was really starting to enjoy it. Then in comes Sizzleburger. Sizzle was a cover driver like me, but he had about a year of seniority on me. That meant that he was allowed to choose which route he wants to take based on who ranked lower than him. The rules about this were always weird. When I would try to do it, management would push back and say I wasn't allowed, even though it's in our contract. Sizzle was also very full of himself. He looked like a wannabe mob boss from The Sopranos, and whenever he was mad about his route, he'd file a grievance. We did not get along, since he was, a complete jerk to everyone. The day finally comes when Sizzle decides he doesn't like that I'm running the Kashi route, and he's tired of the one right next to it, which was really not that bad. I had looked at the dispatch list and did my little time calculation, so I knew that I could finish his route faster than I could the Kashi route. So I patiently complied and went to work. It's getting towards the end of the day. I had maybe 5 stops left when I get a call from my supervisor. Hey, you're really not gonna like this, but I need you to go take 30 stops off of Sizzleburger, because he has 70 stops left. You've gotta be kidding me. You know he bumped me from that route this morning. I know. He's been on our last nerve with the grievances, so just go take the stops and I promise you won't get bumped by him again. I knew he must have gone out on the route and at some point realized that he picked the worst route for the day, based on stop count. But to have 70 stops left at around 7 o'clock meant he had been sitting around for half the day. But again, I complied and went to meet with Sizzle. I pull up to his truck and open the door. Immediately I'm hit with a smell like walking into a bar at 2 AM, when all the beer is drying up on the floor. I look at him and he is obviously drunk. An alcoholic drunk, like he thinks he can hide it. But his eyes were so bloodshot it was just pathetic. I say nothing while he tries to play down the fact that I'm helping him on the road he bumped me from. I take my boxes and leave. After I left, I call my buddy, who was another driver, with a lot of seniority, and ask what I should do. He says he'll call the soup and that I should finish the stops I had. About 10 minutes later, I get a call from the soup again. Hey, we know what's going on, and I just wanted to let you know Sizzleburger will no longer be working for us. We've been waiting for actual proof that he's been drinking on the job, and you just gave it to us. So good job. And we are sending 2 more guys to split up the route. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.